All right, folks, let's go ahead and finish up this series for Chapter 10, Leading the Project Team. This is Eric Magidson. I am your instructor or lecturer for this lecture series on leadership and ethics. And we just have a few more slides to get through. So let's talk about common ethical dilemmas as it pertains to confidence. Relationships with project stakeholders require maintaining a strong sense of confidence with respect to such issues as confidentiality, product safety, reliability, etc. The stakeholders need to know you're trustworthy. It's that simple. They need to know your team is trustworthy. They need to know that you are going to meet deadlines. And sometimes when we're dealing with a new project, with a new organization, they are extending a lot of trust that we're going to produce the product we're expected to produce in the time we're expected to produce it with the quality we said we would meet. And if we're not able to do that, folks, that's when we need to go back and communicate the challenges that we're having. Communicating challenges builds trust. We're not trying to hide things. We're not trying to sweep things under the rug that become so unmanageable. And sometimes trust is even built. I've actually built a great deal of trust with a former client by coming to them and saying, you know what? We got to stop this project, and here's why. And I'm sorry, but this is what's going on. And if we need to stop this project, fix these internal challenges, fix culture, whatever, so that we can get back on track, that's what we need to do. Or have the project stop altogether. So trust can erode with the fairness, honesty, and respect come into question. So do we respect the people we work with? Are they being honest? Is our team being honest? Etc. So corporate resources, you are an agent or representative of your organization, and your actions can be considered the actions of your organization. Now, folks, this plays very well into public things where we've seen major leaders of companies act unethically, illegally, or immorally outside their job function. So literally, people have, leaders have gotten fired for their activities outside of their organization. And it's important for us to know that. I think that's a period comma there. So again, or we've seen leaders who have thrown themselves on the sword because their project team, the team they were supposed to lead, could not meet it or get fired for it. Boeing, just fired the CEO because of a major project failure. They're having to borrow billions of dollars to put the project back on task. They haven't been able to deliver quality planes. They're having issues with quality. They're having issues with safety. And ultimately, the leader at the top is responsible. So keep in mind, folks, that even though you're the project leader, the leaders who tend to be the stakeholders are more responsible for the success of the program, the product, than you are. They are trusting you. Company resources should only be used for business unless the organization has specific policies. Okay? What this means is we're not going to buy assets for the company that we're going to use outside of the company. Okay? Now, some companies will buy things like golf memberships as a benefit to their employee and as a benefit for taking clients out to play golf, to get to know them on more of a personal level. But we're not going to buy them a golf membership, if you know what I mean. We're going to act ethically, and we are going to maintain ethically. So, making sound ethical decisions, here are two processes to consider. Gather the facts, define the ethical issue, identify the affected stakeholders, identify the consequences or potential consequences, identify the obligations, and consider your character and integrity. Now, I personally think you switch this up. If you don't know your character and integrity as you do these other things, it's going to be hard to do those other things. I happen to like the process on the right, which is establish the facts in a situation. It's just the facts and nothing but the facts. Decide whether the situation involves legal or ethical issues and or both. Identify your options and possible consequences. Evaluate your options. Choose the best option. Implement your decision. Now remember, a lot of times this can mean making a decision that you don't necessarily know is the right decision to have been made. Okay, so let's talk about teams for a minute. A team is a small number of people with complementary skills who are committed to a common purpose, performance goals, and approach. A team is different than a work group. Okay, and we'll look at some of these real quick. So work groups, members interact to share information, best practices, or ideas. No shared performance goals, so individual performance. No joint work products. No mutual accountability. So you can see right off the bat, we don't want our project team to be a work group. But it is viable in many situations to have work groups where individuals come together knowing that they're responsible for certain aspects to do their job without the impact of the team, without having to interact with the team. In the team, we can even have a work group. The coders may be a work group, and then there's somebody who sits on the project team that manages the coders. But the coder's job is to work. Real teams are a small number of people. Now, I've used the example of the dream team, as they were called. The U.S. Olympic Dream Team basketball team. They have complementary skills. Well, yes, all these folks did. Committed to a common purpose, that was to win the gold medal. They had common goals along the way. They had a common approach to it. Who created a common approach? Well, we had all these individuals, but this gentleman in the center created a common approach to getting the job done and created goals for the entire team, not individual goals. Okay? Pippin's job was not to do what Pippin wanted to do. It's what the team needed him to do. And then hold themselves accountable. Each member of this team held themselves accountable for their job, their position. Real team and common sense finding from K&S. Teams tend to flourish on a demanding performance challenge. We like to be challenged as individuals, and as a project leader, we need to challenge our team to meet goals. Team basics are often overlooked. Most organizations prefer individual accountability to team accountability. Okay? However, we can put a lot of stress on people with individual accountability, where if they're part of a team, we make the team accountable. And what that also means is that if somebody is absent or somebody is sick, maybe someone else from the team takes over and does that job for that day, because then they know that other team member would do it for them. That's that binding, that's that bonding, that's that trust. So uncommon sense findings, so strong performance goals tend to spawn more real teams. High performance teams are rare. Real teams provide the basis of performance, and teams naturally integrate performance and learning. So there's always the opportunity, even when we're surrounded by experts, to continue to learn how to do something better. Multicultural projects, so especially in information technology, we tend to implement multiple cultures into a project, multiple people from additional nationalities from all over the world now because of the advent of the internet. We can utilize experts from all over the world to get our project done, perhaps without even seeing them. My students on this project, in this class, are working with team members. It's an online class. They're probably never getting together, except for getting together online, utilizing communication online, and hopefully utilizing something like Zoom where they can see each other and interact. Because when we can't see body language, we don't see what's going on with others. And to be a great leader, we need to be able to lead our people by seeing our people. Even though ethics is an important component of leadership, the ability to lead and manage a multicultural team is becoming an important skill for successful project leaders. And again, ethics are going to play into that. If we have people from China who are used to getting things done with bribes, we need to let them know how we're going to do it as a project team. The challenge of international projects, well, number of locations, time zones. So one of the advantages to the internet is we can actually work on a project 24/7, 365 by having people that are going to sleep transfer that project to people who are waking up, transferring that project when they go to sleep to people that are waking up, and we can literally do 24/7 work on a project. We can keep the project going. Thus, when we're managing that project, we need to think about what that means as a work day and how that's going to look. What this means is we may produce code in the United States that's then sent over to, Europe or someplace 12 hours later or 8 hours later to be audited, to be tested, so that we can move forward the next day with more coding. Hopefully you get the idea. But again, as we do this, we have to consider broad cultures. And what this means, we have to consider holidays for that culture, when they work, time that they may take off during the day to pray, political instability if it exists, in the aspect of, is there a war going on in their country? What's that mean to our project? Attitude toward work and time. A lot of countries are more focused on relaxation than work. Some countries even take an entire month where there's no work that gets done. It's just time to rest. We need to consider religions and language and culture and ethics. Ethics are different, and even food. So understanding and managing diversity. So go ahead and read this. I'm going to go right to the wheel to finish this lecture series. Go ahead and pause this and read it though. Here is the diversity wheel. So if you notice, personality is based on all these things: race, gender, sexual orientation, sex, age, gender identity or expression, mental and physical ability, ethnicity. Then we go out into things, family and spiritual, how our community, how we appear, our education, our income, all of those things. Then out to, who's in our social networks, what's our work location and our experience and our occupation. All of these things play into understanding someone's diversity. So what we could do is take this wheel, go out to our project team and say, tell me who you are based on this wheel. So that we can maybe match people that are similar, or know that there might be conflicts as it comes to personal trauma history, or historical events, or economical hardship and prosperity. Remember that what we make here in the United States, someone might make our hourly wage for a day's worth of work in their country. And what does that mean if they know somebody's getting paid way more than they are? So look at this, look at the whole thing, consider it. We get out here to emotional intelligence, how our addictions, were we abused, body language, all of this stuff comes into play in a professional environment and how people are affected. Homelessness. We have students here on campus that are homeless but are coming to college. How does that affect their ability to get good sleep, to study, to be warm, to feel safe? And how is that going to play in their performance in the classroom? So there we go. We're done with leadership in Chapter 10. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for staying with me through this whole lecture series. Take care.